In this video, we're going to try to solve this problem by finding this alpha that satisfies the following condition. We need to find an alpha or the alpha in order for f of x, which is sine inverse of the square root of x, to be defined on 0 alpha. And after that, we need to find the value of this integral. Here we have, I think, 2 or 3 problems that we need to solve. First, we need to find the domain of definition of this function. Okay, clearly the first thing that we have to do is that we need to note that this is the first thing, that the square root of x is defined when x is bigger or equal than 0. The second thing is that we need to have the square root of x between -1 and 1. But with this condition here, we see that this happens only when x is between 0 and 1. Okay? And therefore, okay, this function here is defined only for this value when x is between 0 and 1. Therefore, our alpha in this case is 1. Okay? So here, alpha equals 1. Because now we found the domain of definition for this function. So let's call it d. df is 0, 1. Okay? And our alpha is 1. And therefore, we need to integrate here between 0 and 1. Okay? Before we do integrate, we need to see that we can find a simple expression for our function. Okay, here we see that we have a bijection between the two functions, or we can make it simpler. We can change the variable here, okay, by noting that we can change the square root here. Okay, if we let the square root equals t, then we're gonna have the sine inverse of the square root of x. It's going to be the sine of the sine inverse of t, which is going to be t. And this is just the square root of x. Okay? And therefore, we can integrate our function here easily between 0 and 1. And this means that we're going to integrate the square root of x between 0 and 1. And we know that this is just 2 over 3 x to the power 3 over 2 between 0 and 1. And therefore, we have 2 over 3. Okay? So the key here is to find this alpha is to know the domain of definition of this composite function. And after that, we need to know the simplification of this function here. This is just the square root of x. And once we do that, we know that this is just square root of x between 0 and 1. And a simple using the power rule or the x to the power n with n is 1/2, we can integrate this function very easily, and we found that we have 2 over 3. And I think the issue is that here you need to know this is composite function. We have 3 functions here, and we need to know their properties to be able to solve this problem. Once we do that and we find the domain of definition, easily we can proceed to solve. And we can note that here we know that this is the restriction on some domain of the inverse function, and therefore these two are inverse of each other. Okay? You need to know the domain of definition of the sine inverse. Okay, and from there we get this result here, and after that we integrate it to get this one here. Okay, I think that's this solves this problem here. If you see any errors or mistakes, please comment. Please like, share, and subscribe, and thank you very much again.